Good morning. My name is Bonnie Fugiasco, and I serve as the Special Events Manager for the Alumni Association at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I am so pleased that you are joining us here today for a very special Future Panther Academy. We are going to have an insider's tour today of the TMJ4’s Storm Chaser, the Weather Mobile Lab. We are thrilled to have Storm Team Meteorologist Brian Niznansky as our very special host today, and we are so proud that he is a UWM alum. Woohoo! Brian gets us ready every weekday morning on TMJ4 News Today. And did you know that his forecasts were named Best Weathercast in the state by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association in 2019? How cool is that? Before joining TMJ4, Brian spent several years at NBC 26 in Green Bay, and he also worked in Wausau, where he was voted favorite weathercaster by the readers of the Wausau City Pages. He grew up in Racine and tells us that he is absolutely thrilled to be forecasting right here in his hometown. Well, we're all set to kick off our tour, but before we do, I want to encourage our viewers today to submit your questions that you have for Brian, whether it's about the weather or the storm chaser we're about to see, to the right of your viewing window. He'll do his best to answer as many of those questions as we can. So now it is my pleasure to welcome Storm Team 4 meteorologist Brian Niznansky. Take it away, Brian.
Hey, thanks so much, and thanks for the wonderful welcome. Yes, my name is Brian Niznansky. I am with TMJ4 News, and I'm a meteorologist with the morning show early in the morning. My day starts when my alarm hits at 2 a.m. Yes, 2 a.m. That's when I wake up, and I'm done with my shift usually around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So we do the morning newscast, but a lot of it is also going and seeing schools and going to different festivals and also chasing storms in this bad boy. Before we take a tour of the Storm Chaser, I want to let you guys know that I am a UW Milwaukee graduate. I graduated in 2005 from the Atmospheric Science program at UW Milwaukee. And again, a lot of the same professors that I had are still there today. It is an awesome program. If you're interested in meteorology, atmospheric science, really any mathematical sciences, it is a super awesome program, and I feel grateful to have that background. A lot of my fellow students, classmates at UW Milwaukee are in various different businesses as far as meteorology goes. Some are in broadcasting, some work for the National Weather Service. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And again, if you have any great questions, please fire away, and we'll see if we get time for them before I get my new newscast on in about a half hour. All right, again, this is the Storm Chaser vehicle. Typically, if we're going to do a weathercast, which we've been doing daily because we're all doing things from home these days, including our weathercasts, we do them live from my driveway. And we have a camera set up outside. I usually give the presentation outside with this monitor here. We're actually working on some graphical issues. It might actually pop up like magic right now, but hopefully we'll get to when we get to the graphics in a little bit. Usually my position is here, and Scott, who's actually holding the camera right now, is usually running the camera, and we do the newscast from outside this vehicle. How does this all work? This is, so just kind of follow me, and we'll kind of go over some of the bells and whistles of this vehicle. There's a lot of times before and during the newscast that I am sitting right here in the front seat. And while I'm in the front seat, I'm working with this laptop right here. And this laptop is able to access anything that I can access back at the TV station. So we remotely tap in to any of the systems that we have in the Weather Center. So really, I can do anything from the Weather Center right here from my driveway. It's a little bit slower, but honestly, it's not too bad. Also, we have this guy. So not only can I work from here, but I can even broadcast from here. There's several cameras and microphones everywhere and lights. So I could be on camera. They could take me on camera from here and be like, hey, we're driving into a storm. Oh, it's bad. You know, weather, winter storm. We throw up the graphics, or I could switch over to our rooftop camera, which is in the monitor here now. And we can move this around. I'll show you where this camera is in a second. But yeah, I can move it around. There's no storms today. I guess we could try and find some birds and blue skies. Or we can flip it over to the front camera where it's a little bit dark right now. But this camera's right here. And I would be talking to it and be like, hey, everybody, how's it going? So yeah, so a lot of work can be done here in the front seat. But let's go through some of the other elements of the Storm Chase vehicle. And what you'll see is on top of here. This is a weather instrument. Actually, it's a number of weather instruments. So one question I propose to you, and maybe you can reply in a comment or something. What's a weather instrument that comes to mind for you? What measures temperature? What measures pressure? What measures wind? Okay, think about that a little bit. We'll get you some of those answers. Well, all of that is measured with this guy and then funneled into the storm chaser vehicle. Coming to the back, you notice all the flashing lights too. This guy, he's blinking, all the lights above. Main purpose of the flashing lights, no, we're not pulling people over or anything, but what we're doing is a lot of times we find ourselves, especially in inclement weather. It could be dark outside, even in the middle of the night. It could be a big winter storm. It could be, you know, a severe thunderstorm. We want to make sure that we're seen. We're finding ourselves on shoulders of roadways, you know, places where it might be a little bit more dangerous to be. So we're just making sure that we're seen as well. Going back to some of the tools on this vehicle. Remember I showed you the 360 camera? Here it is right here, all the way up top. And this guy here, we use with that joystick to revolve around and be able to show people what is happening with the weather. That is the main purpose of this storm chaser vehicle. You may watch Discovery Channel. You may see other times on TV, storm chasers. They're trying to get right into the storm and record data and, you know, get as close to a tornado as they possibly can. Well, we want to see the tornado. We want to get relatively close to it, but we're not going to drive this thing right into a tornado. What our purpose is to let people see what weather is coming, whether that's a tornado, a big hailstorm, a big snowstorm. We want to show people whether it's way to the west, let's say west of Waukesha, and we could say, hey, this is coming for the city of Milwaukee. This is coming towards Brookfield. This is coming towards Racine, Kenosha, you name it. We're going to try to let people know what weather's coming by letting people see it firsthand versus like just a radar or something like that. All right, how do we do that? This is probably the most important piece of that. This guy right here, think of him, for lack of a better explanation, as a very high-powered cell phone, actually that has several different cell phone lines that go into it, a number of different carriers. So we're trying to get the best signal as possible. You know, when you have a cell phone, you drop a call or whatever, that's like worst case scenario. Then we're not able to send any video back. So this has to be working at all times in order to send video. It takes all of that cell phone strength and uses the same technology as what we're using today, whether that's FaceTime or Zoom. All that video call over a cellular data connection is how we're able to transmit video back to the station and then eventually to your TV. And all that takes is a matter of a few seconds. There's a lot more that goes into it. Scott, who's running the camera, could maybe tell us more about it, but this is all the guts. I mean, each one of these is a different switcher that's sending video inputs from the monitors to the cameras, eventually back to the station, recording all of the weather data, a big old battery to keep things backed up. Again, this is basically the guts of it. So maybe, just maybe, there are a few people out there that are, I don't know if meteorology is my thing. If engineering is your thing, you might know a little bit more about that. There's a lot going on there. So again, it's kind of like magic, but there's a lot of things that go into it. And when it comes down to it, it ends up being on a very routine, simple basis almost every day. So again, that technology is becoming more and more useful. We wouldn't be able to have a vehicle like this maybe 10 years ago when there wasn't this technology. Reason for it is because we couldn't drive into a storm or a tornado or be driving at all for that matter if we had a normal live truck. You've seen live trucks out at the scene like a fire or a big car accident or something like that. They send a mast in the air, and that would be the old way of sending a signal back. But this way we can be driving, we can be in inclement weather and things like that. So again, my newscast starts at noon, which, by the way, if you're watching this live, if you want to tune into TMJ4 News at noon, we'll be doing the weather forecast live right here from my driveway. A lot of things that come to mind as far as chasing storms. We haven't had a whole lot of action with this storm chaser vehicle yet since we've owned it, because there really hasn't been much severe weather. if we start getting more severe weather, rest assured that we're going to be out there with this vehicle trying to find it and keep us protected here in southeastern Wisconsin. So I hope you guys really, really enjoyed the tour. And I have a feeling there might be a few questions. You can fire away, whether it's about my job, whether it's about, something about myself, whether it's about the vehicle, things that we've seen with the vehicle, my storm chasing experience, which, by the way, goes all the way back to when I was at UW Milwaukee. We did this awesome storm chaser trip where we'd be in Texas one day, we'd be in Nebraska, we'd be in Kansas. We went all over the Tornado Alley, which was really cool. It was all funded through grants and fundraising. We would be doing brat fries outside the EMS building at UW Milwaukee for us to be able to do that. So maybe, just maybe, some of you future Panthers out there will be doing the same thing in just a few years. But if anybody has any great questions, please feel free to fire away.
All right, Brian, our first question comes from Sydney in Wauwatosa, and she wants to know, have you ever seen a tornado, or have you ever driven into one?
I've never driven into one. I've seen a couple of tornadoes. The one that comes to mind first would be on one of those storm chaser trips that I just mentioned. We were in Missouri, rural southwest Missouri. Thankfully, this thing did not affect a major populated area. But we saw the tornado. It took over a cargo train and brought it to its side. We were probably a mile away from it, so we were really not that far. I mean, when you're a mile away from a tornado and you can still see it, that's still scary enough, right? I don't want to be any farther from that. But yeah, we saw one then, and I think that one ended up getting rated at like an EF2 at the time. Again, it didn't affect anything major as far as like a town or population or things like that, which is great. The science nerd in me, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't fascinated to see a tornado and be excited about it. But best case scenario is when it doesn't affect anybody, doesn't hurt anybody, doesn't damage too much property. But that was the first one. Second one was actually in Racine. It was this tiny little EF0 that popped up just across a parking lot from where my grandma was in a nursing home at the time. We were visiting her, and sure enough.
Wonderful. Jasmine writes and wants to know if the storm chaser has ever been damaged.
Ever been damaged? Maybe some minor damage. Scott, does anything come to mind?
No, not at all.
Nope, nothing major damage. I mean, maybe a couple nicks here and there, normal wear and tear on a vehicle, but no, we've never had hail damage yet with the storm chaser vehicle. Same trip that we saw that tornado in southwest Missouri, we did encounter some hail damage as well to our rental vehicle when we were with UW Milwaukee. Thank goodness for insurance. But yeah, no, great question. But no, the storm chaser is in good shape.
And Katie wants to know if the monitor in the back is waterproof and weatherproof.
Oh, super good question. Let me flip over to our rooftop camera so you see an image. I'll be right back. Okay. So this monitor, not only is it waterproof and weatherproof, but it's super heavy and bulky compared to like a monitor that you'd have at home, whether it's your computer or TV. A couple reasons for that. It's bulky because it has this encasing that, yes, makes it weatherproof. There's not going to be a drop of rain that gets inside of this. But also it has these big fan units and this big power unit on the back here for the reason of providing a great image on TV. As we're broadcasting outside, as you can see right now, it's tough to see, but we have the ability to adjust the screen to brighten up that it shows well on air, and also dim it down a lot more than what you'd be able to do on your normal TV at home for when it's dark outside. There's just a lot of things that we can tweak this TV to make it look right for TV quality. So it needs that big power unit, and certainly a lot more expensive than probably any TV that's on my wall at home, that's for sure.
All right. Alyssa and Jacob want to know if the windows are hail-proof.
Hail-proof windows. Unfortunately, no. Thankfully, every windshield where most of us will be is hail-proof to an extent. Just like if a rock hit your windshield, it would probably spiderweb. And, it's not like a hailstone would come crashing through. It would take a really giant hailstone for that to happen. Most of the time, if hail hits your windshield, it's just going to kind of spiderweb. These guys, though, would break. That's for sure. There aren't any windows on the back unit, but yes, the side windows would break. maybe this little bit of a screen on top of it would prevent a complete shatter and a hailstone flying in. But no, unfortunately, that's why we are not built to drive this thing right into the heart of a storm. We want to be able to see it enough to show people what's coming, but we don't want to get into the thick of things too much. Great question.
Okay. Juan wants to know how many people can fit into the storm chaser?
Great question. I wish more. I think comfortably 3. Comfortably 3 people, legally with seatbelts 3, that's for sure. So you have the driver here, you have the passenger seat where we were before, and then if we walk around just a little bit here to the other side, here's the passenger seat again, and then this seat right here, someone can sit in. So we have 1, 2, 3 seats. The rest of it is taken up by all of this other equipment, and then that big monitor in the back folds into the back. And that takes up all the space in this gigantic Suburban XL. Takes up a ton of space. But yeah, great question.
Okay, and our final question for this morning, Paul wants to know, actually this question came in from a couple of viewers, how does the storm chaser have enough energy for everything that needs to work inside that truck?
Couple ways, and that's a very, very good question. Well, we have the ability to run power. Would the power come from this side, Scott, or does
that
the power...
big battery, and then it converts it to 110 on an inverter.
Okay, so you have a gigantic battery right here. See this guy right here? That powers up everything, but we do have also the ability to plug this thing in to regular power. So there are many mornings out here that we're plugging the truck into my power at home. I'm going to send the bill to the station.
And the bigger amp alternator on the truck.
Okay, there's a bigger amp alternator on the truck as well. So there's a number of different power supplies, and that's a great question because there's no way that we would be able to operate everything based on just like a simple power of a normal Suburban. I have a feeling there's a lot of dollars that went into that simple fact alone as to what a stock Suburban would be.
All right. Well, Brian, we want to thank you again for sharing the storm chaser with us today and all of our viewers. We so appreciate you taking the time to be with us right before you have to get back on TV.
Yeah,
so hey, all you viewers out there, we hope that you're going to tune in to TMJ4 in just a few minutes. We're going to watch Brian share the forecast on today's 12 o'clock news. So thanks again for being with us. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.